Aiden. I'm going to be a rising senior this year, and together we're all part of the YICG GVLP group. And I know that's a lot of letters, so I'm going to go through and explain what that means. So YICG is Young Indian Culture Group, and together we help the ReWild Foundation plant native plants across Long Island. So in the past couple of years, lots of native plants have been disappearing because of invasive species coming in and taking over. Like you guys all know about the lanternflies, how they kind of took over last year during the summer. Lots of invasive plants are doing the same exact thing, but you don't even realize because they just look like normal plants. So basically the goal of the ReWild initiative is to take back from the invasive plants and replace them with native plants so that we can kind of fix the ecosystem and bring it back to what it was before the invasive plants took over. And what we do as a part of YCG is we also create lots of fun games for people to explore their Indian heritage with. And even if you're not part of the Indian kind of group, they're still really fun games to play, and you can definitely play them and buy them and have fun playing with your family. And right now, everyone's just going to go through and introduce themselves.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Ashna and I'm in 10th grade.
My name is Aiden, I'm going into 8th grade.
My name is Anjali, I'm going to 11th grade.
My name is Arjun, I'm going into 9th.
My name is Noreen, I'm going into 10th.
Hi, my name is Donovan, I'm going into 11th grade.
My name is Sanskrithi, I'm going into 12th grade.
Hi, my name is Vishwa, I'm going to 11th grade.
Alright, so here's just a couple of pictures from some of the events that we've run with ReWild. First, you see on the left, that's from our ReWild hike, where we kind of walked around and raised money for ReWild while also looking at lots of native plants to Long Island. We also helped ReWild plant lots of plants in one area on Long Island. And we also received a recognition from the town of North Hempstead for our efforts. And then another thing that we did is we ran a golf event where lots of people learned how to play golf while we also raised money for the ReWild initiative. And as you can see, we've hosted many fundraisers this year. And today what you're gonna learn is some of the things that native plants are helping do for Long Island and how you can all help promote native plants.
Okay, I'm going to be talking about the Long Island ecosystem, especially the part that plant life has in shaping it. So as you see in these pictures, Long Island is home to a rich variety of natural habitats like meadows, forests, and wetlands, all of which have unique plant communities that help it thrive and survive. And if you take a look at this picture in the middle, that is an example of a native plant to Long Island. It is called a wild columbine. And native plants are very important to the landscape because they are basically the backbone. They help stabilize soil, regulate temperature, and support local wildlife. And the problem is invasive species, and invasive species can take over an entire plant community and take over the native species, which is very bad. And they disrupt the balance by outcompeting native plants and reducing biodiversity. And there should be a healthy plant ecosystem because it's essential for sustaining clean air, soil, and habitats. So conservation efforts are put in place to aim to protect native vegetation and restore ecological balance.
We're talking about microplastics. So microplastics are plastic particles less than 5 millimeters in size. They look like that. And they come from broken down larger plastics, synthetic fibers, and even personal care products. They're found everywhere, from oceans, rivers, soil, and even the air we breathe. About 8 million tons of plastic enters the ocean each year. Once eaten, microplastics can enter the food chain. On land, microplastics interfere with plant growth and water systems. Organizations are trying to remove microplastics from the ocean. Local communities like us can also do our part by participating in beach cleanups. Removing microplastics supports rewilding as they absorb pollutants and can harm plant life.
Hi, my topic is invasive species. Invasive species are non-native organisms that cause harm to the environment, economy, and human health. They are introduced from other areas of the world and they can disrupt the balance of an ecosystem. Invasive species compete with native plants and eventually can outcompete them. They also alter habitats and spread diseases. Invasive species can be plants, insects, fungi, and pathogens. One invasive insect species is lanternflies. Lanternflies are native to Asia and they spread very quickly. They feed on a wide range of crops like grapevines and fruit trees, and their feedings weaken plants, making them more likely to catch diseases and die. One invasive plant species is English ivy. English ivy was introduced from Europe and it smothers trees and alters ecosystems. It outcompetes native plants for resources like sunlight, water, nutrients, and reduces biodiversity and disrupts ecosystems.
I'm going to be talking about biodiversity. Biodiversity is a variety of life on Earth at all its levels from genes to ecosystem. Biodiversity is crucial for the health of ecosystems, which provides us humans with essential resources which are necessary to live and thrive. Diverse ecosystems are proven to be more resilient to things like climate change, disease outbreaks, and natural disasters. Biodiversity is also a key part of a complex food web because a greater variety of species creates more ways for energy flow and nutrition to be cycled around the ecosystem. This also makes ecosystems more resistant to disruptions. Diverse ecosystems also have a better adaptation to change. Diverse ecosystems are better equipped to adapt to changing environmental conditions as well. Biodiversity provides us with a wide range of food sources and helps with a sustainable agriculture. Biodiversity also impacts the medicine industry positively as medicines are derived from plants and other organisms. So by having a wide range of these to choose from, there are more medicines that can help us. This plant that I took a picture with is called the yellow star. I planted it a couple years ago and it is a native plant. It's been growing well and I haven't used any pesticides or chemicals or anything like that to help it grow. It attracts pollinators like bees and butterflies, and it's also helping other plants in the garden. It also helps ecosystem and biodiversity as a whole.
What it does is they create no-mow zones and they encourage others to create no-mow zones. These no-mow zones allow insects and bees to thrive, and they they pollinate the plants, which allow them to produce nectar and pollen, assisting pollinators. In early spring, many flowers have not bloomed yet. One of the things they do is no-mow May, and they do it in May because it is in early spring. A decrease in mowing could lead to lower emissions, and birds come into these zones for shelter. To create a no-mow zone is pretty simple. You just have to take a small patch of grass in your yard and let the grasses go freely. You don't use any fertilizers or any chemicals, and you can just add native plants if you want to increase biodiversity. For example, one of the native plants that are in my garden are the rock polypody. It's found commonly throughout the Northeast on cliffs and rocks and tree roots, and they attract many pollinators.
So the next topic that I'd like to talk about is pesticides. So first of all, what is a pesticide? A pesticide is a chemical used to kill pests like insects, weeds, and fungi. Pesticides not only pollute the air, but they pollute water, soil, making it unsafe to people, animals, and plants. Some common types of pesticides can include insecticides, which are for bugs, and fungicides, which are for fungi and mold. Some of the major drawbacks of pesticides are bees, butterflies, and ladybugs, which do help pollinate plants and eat bad bugs. However, it can be harmed or killed by pesticides. When pesticides run off into rivers or lakes, they can poison fish, frogs, and other aquatic animals, harming the ecosystem living in the waters. And when you kill too many insects or animals, it throws off the balance in nature, causing other problems like pest outbreaks. So lastly, what does the pesticide do for the community? Pesticides can harm the community by causing health problems, polluting the environment, and killing helpful insects like bees, and damaging the balance of nature. Not only are there going to be harmful chemicals on food and in water, which not only affects the ecosystem and the environment, but it also affects us humans, especially children and farmers.
A topic that largely pertains to suburban and urban areas is deforestation. What is deforestation, you may ask? Well, it's the cutting down or clearing of forests on a large scale. It's typically done for logging, farming, mining, and clearing space for building houses like ours. Why is it a problem exactly? It's a problem because it leads to a lot of loss of wildlife habitats. And it affects climate change since you're cutting down trees which typically absorb carbon dioxide from the environment. It also leads to a lot of soil erosion, which leads to soil washing away, and it disrupts the water cycle since less rain equals drier lands. And what can be done is reforestation, which means planting trees again, or creating protected areas like national parks and reserves. You can also sustainably farm and log, which would definitely help. And why does this matter? Is because forests help balance Earth's climate. They're home to millions of species, and saving forests is the same as investing in our futures.
So I'll be talking about endangered species. You might be asking yourself, what are endangered species? An endangered species is a plant or animal that is close to disappearing forever or going extinct. When their numbers get too low, they can't play their natural role in the environment. You might ask, why are species going endangered? Species can go endangered due to habitat loss from construction, building of cities, and farming. They can also become endangered because of the pollution of air, water, and soil. Another reason why species are becoming endangered is that invasive species that outcompete or harm native animals and plants can take over and take their place in the ecosystem. Lastly, climate change can destroy habitats and food sources for our native species. Examples of endangered species on Long Island are the piping plovers, the eastern box turtles, and the northern long-eared bats. Why does it matter? Endangered species keep ecosystems healthy by controlling pests, pollinating plants, and spreading seeds. Their disappearance harms nature, affecting food, water, and overall community health. A plant that I'll be talking about is the black-eyed Susan. Some fun facts about the black-eyed Susan is that it blooms in June to October. It's native to North America. It attracts pollinators such as bees and butterflies. Birds eat it, eat the seeds produced by the black-eyed Susan for a source of food. And it's a pioneer plant, meaning that it's the first plant to grow when a land has been harmed, disrupted, or even destroyed. Thank you.
So what I want you to remember from this presentation, if you only remember one thing, is what you can do to help ReWild and help native plants thrive on Long Island. The first thing you can do is to shrink your lawn. Now this doesn't mean just cutting off parts of your lawn and getting rid of the grass there. This means getting rid of the grass in some parts of your lawn and planting native plants instead. This gets rid of what's dangerous and what we call a monoculture, where there's only one type of plant growing in a pretty large area. In suburban neighborhoods, it's really common to see just grass being pretty much the only vegetation that you see. So it's really important that we kind of bring back the native plants that were growing in Long Island before we wipe them out and planted grass instead. Another thing you can all do is to remove invasive species from your gardens and from your lawns. Invasive species are really harmful. As I talked before about the lanternflies, you saw that they kind of took over Long Island and they took over pretty much the entire country. So it's really important that you guys all remove invasive species from your lawns so that they don't suck up the resources that native plants need to thrive. Another thing you can do is to create a no-mow zone in your yard. Now, Noreen already talked about this, so I won't go too into detail, but basically what it means is not mowing in a certain portion of your lawn so that plants can kind of do their own thing and grow as if they were uninhibited. Whenever you go on a hike, you don't really see perfectly mowed lawns. You see plants that are growing naturally, which is what you want to promote a more sustainable environment in your own home. Another thing that you definitely should do is to welcome pollinators to your area. Instead of kind of getting rid of bees just because they might scare you, you really should be bringing bees to your houses so that they can help pollinate your plants and help pollinate the ecosystem. Another really important thing is to use bacteria instead of pesticides. Now I know Sanvi already covered the dangers of pesticides, and so you guys all really understand that now. But an alternative to pesticides is using bacteria, which is really much more sustainable and much better for the environment. The last thing that I want you guys to do is to recycle all plastics that you have so that they don't go back into the environment, and also to join beach cleanup so that you guys can help get those microplastics and other plastics out of the ocean and away from plants and animals that they could be hurting. So thank you all for listening to our presentation, and if you have any questions, I'll gladly take them now.